The Warren family's annual financial review meeting was proceeding exactly as it had for the past 5 years, with me being the designated failure. I sat quietly in my grandfather's mahogany-lined study, watching my cousins parade their supposed successes while carefully hiding my own empire. And that concludes my presentation on Warren Industries' Asian expansion, my cousin Michael announced, adjusting his Rolex with practiced precision. 4th consecutive quarter of record profits. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Uncle Robert beamed, his position as CEO of Warren Industries clearly influenced by nepotism rather than competence. This is what real business acumen looks like. I suppressed a smile, thinking about Shadow Dynamics, my technology conglomerate that had quietly become Warren Industries' biggest competitor. Not that any of them knew that. To the family, I was just Alexandra Warren, the poor relation who'd turned down a generous, entry-level position at the family company. "Your turn, Alexandra," Aunt Patricia said with barely concealed disdain. "Though I'm not sure why we still include you in these meetings." I opened my modest laptop, which actually contained more processing power than Warren Industries' entire IT infrastructure, and pulled up my carefully crafted cover story. A small consulting business that barely broke even. Still counting pennies? My cousin Sophia smirked, her designer handbag probably worth more than what they thought I made in a month. "I thought you'd have given up by now and joined the family business." My phone buzzed silently, a message from my COO. "Merger preparations complete. Warren Industries vulnerabilities confirmed. Awaiting your signal." "The consulting business is stable," I said softly, thinking about Shadow Dynamics' latest quarterly report showing $8.2 billion in revenue. "I'm managing to barely survive," Michael corrected with fake sympathy. "Look, cousin, there's still a junior analyst position open at Warren. Even you couldn't mess that up." Grandfather Warren, still technically the chairman though he'd largely stepped back, shifted in his leather chair. "Alexandra, your parents, God rest their souls, would have wanted you to be part of the family legacy. My parents, who died in a car accident when I was 12, had actually left me something far more valuable than a position at Warren Industries, a trust fund that I'd used to build Shadow Dynamics while my family thought I was frittering it away on a modest lifestyle." "Speaking of legacy," Uncle Robert interjected, "we're about to announce the biggest deal in Warren Industries history. A merger that will cement our position in the market." I took a slow sip of water, knowing exactly what deal he meant, because I'd orchestrated it. The merger was actually a trap, designed to expose Warren Industries' outdated technology and mismanaged resources. "How impressive," I murmured just as my phone began to ring. The caller ID showed Executive Office. "Excuse me," I said, standing up. "I should take this." "Probably a client canceling," Sophia stage whispered. "Again." In the hallway I answered the call. "Yes, ma'am," my assistant's voice was crisp. "Should we proceed with acquiring their company? The board is assembled and the financial press is standing by." I glanced back through the study's doorway, watching my family continue their self-congratulatory discussion. "Initiate phase 1, I replied quietly. "It's time they learned about real business acumen." "Understood. The press release goes live in 20 minutes. Warren Industries won't know what hit them." I ended the call and returned to my seat, where Michael was in the middle of another boast. "Of course, some people understand real business," he was saying, "while others play at consulting and live in rental apartments." The rental apartment was actually the entire top floor of a building I owned through a shell corporation. The playing at consulting had built one of the most sophisticated technology companies in the world. "Tell me, Michael," I said casually, "how's Warren Industries' cybersecurity?" He blinked, thrown off by the sudden question. "Top-notch, of course. We just upgraded the whole system." "Really?" I opened my laptop again, this time accessing Shadow Dynamics' real interface. "Because according to this, your firewalls have more holes than Swiss cheese." "What are you talking about?" Uncle Robert demanded. "Our IT department assured me." "Your IT department," I cut in, "is using technology that was outdated 5 years ago. But then Warren Industries has always been a bit behind the curve." The room fell silent as my family processed this unexpected challenge. Grandfather Warren leaned forward, his eyes suddenly sharp. "Alexandra," he said slowly, "what exactly are you implying?" I smiled, watching the clock tick closer to the moment when their carefully constructed world would shatter. "I'm not implying anything," I replied. "I'm just wondering if anyone here knows who Shadow Dynamics is." Michael scoffed. "That tech company that's been eating up market share? What about them? Their CEO is announcing something interesting in about..." I checked my watch. 15 minutes. "You might want to pay attention." The next 15 minutes in Grandfather Warren's study transformed decades of family dynamics. I remained seated, watching multiple screens as my relatives frantically checked their phones and tablets. Breaking news, Bloomberg's alert flashed. Shadow Dynamics reveals hostile takeover bid for Warren Industries. Stock plummets. "This is impossible," Michael sputtered, his Rolex catching the light as his hands shook. "Our shares are locked up tight. Nobody could." Nobody. I pulled up a complex web of shell companies and investment vehicles on my laptop. "Are you sure about that, cousin?" Uncle Robert's face had turned an alarming shade of red. "What did you do?" "Me?" I raised an eyebrow. "I'm just a small-time consultant, remember? Barely making ends meet, according to this morning's discussion." Sophia's designer handbag slipped from her grasp as she stared at her phone. "Shadow Dynamics. They've been accumulating shares through multiple entities for years. They own, oh God, 47% of Warren Industries," I finished for her. "Plus another 20% in convertible bonds that, as of 3 minutes ago, have been called in." Grandfather Warren's hands gripped his chair's armrests. "Alexandra." "Yes, grandfather?" I stood up, finally dropping the carefully maintained facade of mediocrity. "Would you like to know how your supposedly brilliant executive team missed the systematic acquisition of your company by your failed granddaughter?" "You." Michael's voice cracked. "You're behind Shadow Dynamics?" My phone buzzed continuously with notifications as the news spread. Tech giant Shadow Dynamics reveals secret CEO. Warren Industries faces hostile takeover by founder's granddaughter. Wall Street stunned by corporate coup of the decade. "The merger announcement," Uncle Robert whispered. "It was a trap." "Of course it was," I confirmed, moving to stand by the window. The same window where I'd once watched my family celebrate my cousin's promotions while dismissing my potential. "Your due diligence was exactly as superficial as I predicted. Did anyone actually read the technical specifications, or were you too busy planning the victory party?" Aunt Patricia found her voice. But your consulting business was the perfect cover," I smiled. "Amazing how invisible you can be when people choose to underestimate you. While you were all focused on your quarterly bonuses and country club memberships, I built something that makes Warren Industries look like a relic." My phone lit up with a message from my executive team. "Warren Industries board requesting emergency meeting. Major shareholders calling. Media circus in full swing." "The trust fund," Grandfather Warren said suddenly. "Your parents' money. Became the seed funding for Shadow Dynamics." I nodded. "While you all assumed I was wasting it on a modest lifestyle, I was building an empire that would make Warren Industries obsolete." Michael lunged for his phone, probably trying to reach their corporate lawyers. "This is corporate terrorism. You can't just..." "Can't what?" I interrupted coolly. "Can't outmaneuver a company so focused on tradition that it missed the digital revolution? Can't build something better while you were all busy mocking my career choices." The security feed on my tablet showed chaos erupting at Warren Industries headquarters. Executives rushing in for emergency meetings, phones ringing off the hook, reporters gathering in the lobby. "Dad," Sophia turned to Uncle Robert, "what do we do?" He sat slumped in his chair, the weight of realization crushing his usual arrogance. "Alexandra, surely we can discuss this. We're family." "Family." I laughed softly. "Like when you told the board I wasn't Warren material? Or when Michael spread rumors about my failed business ventures to discourage potential clients?" I opened my briefcase, genuine alligator skin, worth more than Michael's car, and pulled out a stack of documents. "These are the termination papers for the entire executive team. Don't worry, the severance packages are generous. More generous than the entry-level position you offered me." "Wait," Michael called out desperately. "What about the employees? The company? Shadow Dynamics will retain any employee willing to embrace innovation. I replied. Unlike some, we believe in adapting to change, not fighting it. Grandfather Warren stood up slowly, his eyes meeting mine with what looked like a mix of shock and pride. You orchestrated all of this? While we thought you were struggling. I learned from the best, grandfather, I said quietly. You always taught us to seize opportunities. I just saw ones that weren't limited by outdated thinking. My phone buzzed again. Messages from various family members I hadn't heard from in years, each suddenly remembering our special connection. I forwarded them all to spam except one from my grandmother. Your parents would be so proud. Show them what real innovation looks like. The study fell silent except for the ping of phones announcing Warren Industries' continuing stock collapse. My family sat frozen, watching their corporate empire crumble in real time. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just success. It's success that renders your critics obsolete. The digital revolution had arrived, and my family had front-row seats to their own disruption. The real future of Warren Industries was just beginning, but under a very different kind of leadership. And somewhere in the city, a family was learning that sometimes the biggest threats don't come from obvious competitors, but from the quiet one they underestimated all along. The aftermath of my revelation unfolded over the next several weeks like a perfectly choreographed symphony of corporate upheaval. I sat in my real office at Shadow Dynamics headquarters, a stark contrast to Warren Industries' outdated mahogany and brass aesthetic, watching multiple screens track the transformation of my family's legacy. Ms. Warren, my assistant appeared with the morning briefing. Your cousin Michael has given 3 more interesting interviews to financial networks. Would you like to see the latest? I nodded, and the main screen filled with Michael's increasingly desperate attempts to maintain dignity. His perfect suit looked rumpled, his Rolex conspicuously absent, probably sold to cover margin calls on his Warren Industries stock options. Shadow Dynamics takeover is temporary, he was insisting to a skeptical CNBC anchor. Traditional business values will prevail. Our stock just hit another record high, my CFO reported during the morning executive meeting. Warren Industries' former shareholders are practically begging to convert their holdings to Shadow Dynamics shares. My phone hadn't stopped buzzing since the takeover announcement. From Uncle Robert, please reconsider the executive changes. The board will give you anything. From Sophia, my husband's family is asking questions about our finances. Can we talk? From various cousins, we always believed in you. Remember that time in 3rd grade when? I forwarded most to my legal team except for one from my old nanny. I always knew you were the smart one. Your parents would be dancing in heaven. The security feeds showed the ongoing transformation at Warren Industries headquarters. The pretentious oil paintings of past CEOs were being replaced with interactive digital displays. The executive dining room was now a collaborative workspace. Michael's precious reserved parking spot had become a charging station for electric vehicles. Your grandfather is here, my assistant announced. He's alone. I watched on the security feed as Grandfather Warren walked through the modernized lobby, his eyes taking in the changes with what looked like a mixture of shock and admiration. Gone were the intimidating marble columns and heavy wooden doors, replaced by transparent glass and open spaces. Send him up, I said, turning to face the floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked the city. He entered quietly, his footsteps hesitant on the polished concrete floors, so different from his carpeted sanctuary. Alexandra, he said softly. Or should I say Sio Warren? I turned, gesturing to a chair. Grandfather, how's the family handling the transition? He sat down heavily, looking older than I'd ever seen him. Robert hasn't left his house in days. Michael's wife is filing for divorce. Sophia's trying to launch a fashion blog of all things. And you? I asked, watching him carefully. He was quiet for a moment, looking around my office. At the advanced technology, the clean design, the clear signs of success he'd never noticed before. I've been reading about Shadow Dynamics, he finally said. About the innovations you've created, the markets you've revolutionized. While we were all celebrating Michael's mediocre achievements, you were celebrating what you understood, I finished for him. Traditional business, traditional values. Your parents, he continued, his voice catching slightly, they always said you saw things differently. Helen, your mother. She told me once that you'd either be the family's greatest success or its biggest rebel. Turns out I could be both, I smiled, pulling up Shadow Dynamics' latest market valuation on the wall screen. The company's worth 10 times what Warren Industries was at its peak. He nodded slowly. The trust fund, you used it to build all this while we thought. While you thought I was failing? I raised an eyebrow. It's amazing what you can accomplish when nobody's watching. When they're too busy judging your clothes and apartment to notice you're building an empire. My phone buzzed. Another message from Uncle Robert. The country club is reviewing our membership. Please just tell them your family. I never meant. Grandfather started, then stopped. We never saw. No, I agreed, standing to walk to the window again. You saw what you expected to see. The quiet granddaughter who didn't fit the Warren mold. The one who asked too many questions about technology and innovation. The afternoon sun cast long shadows across the city. My city now in many ways. Shadow Dynamics' influence extended far beyond what Warren Industries had ever achieved. What happens now? He asked quietly. I turned back to face him. Now we bring Warren Industries into the 21st century. Those who can adapt will stay. Those who can't. I shrugged. There's always room for junior analysts. He actually chuckled at that, a small, sad sound. Your grandmother wants to know if you'll still come to Sunday dinners. I will, I nodded. But not as the family disappointment. And not to hear about Michael's latest accomplishments. My phone lit up with another market alert. Shadow Dynamics had just announced a revolutionary new technology platform. Our stock jumped another 15%. You know, Grandfather said, standing slowly, your father once told me that the future belongs to those who can see it coming. I didn't understand what he meant until now. I walked him to the door, past rows of engineers and developers who were reshaping the business world while Warren Industries had been planning golf tournaments. One more thing, he paused at the threshold. That junior analyst position we offered you is being filled by Michael next week, I finished. He starts orientation on Monday. I hear he's excellent at making coffee. The look on his face was worth every condescending comment, every dismissive gesture, every family dinner of subtle humiliation. As he left, I returned to my desk, opening my laptop to review Shadow Dynamics' next innovation. Success, after all, isn't about maintaining tradition. It's about creating the future. The view from my office showed a city transformed by technology and innovation. Somewhere out there, my family was learning that sometimes the biggest revolution doesn't come from obvious sources, but from the quiet one they underestimated all along.